Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson. We want everybody, no matter what condition you live with, to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you do have a voice, you have a community, and you are never alone. Here on Invisible Condition, we get it, man. We know that life can be tough sometimes. And the cool thing is, we also know that there is always hope. That's why we talk about it so much here. So I would like to talk just for a second before we bring our guest on about a couple things that I know some of you already know about, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Hydro with Hope. Hydro with Hope is our nonprofit. It is near and dear to my heart. I was born with a condition called hydrocephalus that has required about 15 surgeries over the last several decades of my life. 7 of those are brain surgeries. It's a big deal. Hydrocephalus is way underserved, in my humble opinion. And so we created Hydro with Hope to help with that. There is, you may see some information throughout the episode about that. If you would like more information or would like to help, please let me know. Shoot me an email. Let's see. Let me, oops, nope, that's not what I meant to do. There we go. Shoot me an email right here if you want to help. If you want more information about anything I'm talking about here or during the show or anything, this is a go-to right here. InvisibleCondition at e360tv.com is a good place to reach me. Also, if you are somebody that you've seen the show, you know that somebody should be on here getting the word out about what they do with their business, with their company. If you think that you know somebody that would align with what we're doing here, man, I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to talk to them. Email me at that same email right here. And I would love to get in touch with them and see what we can do together. You know, let's see. Why not? Right. All right, here we go. I am going to put my name back on there. And then we're going to talk for a second about our guest because he's amazing. Here we go. As soon as I find it, there it is. Welcome to Live TV, everybody. Pushing the buttons and everything. Jason Antalek is my guest. He helps people turn struggles into strengths through awareness, which is really cool. Through awareness, alignment, and action. That last one's kind of important. Action, right? Because of his deep understanding of life's challenges, he is able to expertly help others navigate their pain and find purpose in their journey, which is what we're all here to do here too, man. Everybody with an invisible condition is looking for that. So Jason is passionate about empowering others to transform obstacles into opportunities for growth and connection. So who better to have on the show, right? All right, let's bring him on. Jason is right there. Jason, man, thank you so much for being here. This is going to be fun.
I'm so jazzed to be here with you, Jeff. And hello to the community. Thanks for everyone that's tuning in. Appreciate you being here. I love what you're standing for and really want to share my story with some inspiration and some hope. You're so right. Man. There's always hope, man. We could do that.
Bring it. Speaking of hope, that's my first question. I always ask somebody, I always ask everybody on this. There's no wrong answer. I always love the answer that comes out. During the really hard times when things were just impossible, you were at the bottom of whatever pit you were at the bottom of, how do you still maintain hope?
Oof. I'm going to answer that first by saying there's been times I've lost it. I'm going to be honest. Just there's been times when I had to find it in something outside of myself. I had to look outside of me because internally I was really struggling. It was drowned. And the flame was still in there. I found that out eventually, but at the time I couldn't find it. Even if I'm looking for it a little bit outside myself, if I could get that little spark and can uncover it, you know, so somebody somewhere has been through it. Somebody has got some kind of understanding. And for me, that really is the hope that if I'm in a place where I've got it lost, that there is something around me that can be that inspiration. And hopefully not send me down a crazy road. We can go a little nuts when we don't have hope. So that having that in our hip pocket in one way or another, I think it also translates as faith. There's lots of ways to say that same thing. So I just want to open the door for it to be more than one meaning for folks as well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, faith. Exactly. I'm glad you said that, because that is, I mean, that's what applies to me, man. It's, hope is built, kind of built right into my faith. It's part of it. So I'm glad you said that. That's awesome. Yeah, 100%. Good answer. See, I'm telling you, there's no wrong answer. I love it.
Oh, we're having a conversation, so it's those kind of questions that bring out who we are. I appreciate it very much.
Totally. Exactly. Yeah, you can tell a lot about a person from just that question. That's why I ask it first. You never know.
Well, you didn't hang up on me, so I guess we'll continue.
Nah,
I couldn't get it wrong, but do I get a cookie? I'd like a cookie of hope. That would be nice.
Cookie of hope. We'll talk about that. I'll get you one later. There you go.
Okay.
I don't have any on me right now, but
let's not put him on the spot. Like the guy's got enough to do.
Right? Oh man. All right. Come on. We got to stay on track here. We're already off track. We're 5 minutes in.
Oh, you've got another question. We're good.
It's all good, man. It's cool. It's cool. So what happened? So what happened in 2015, man? We want to get into that. But when you're, let's ask that question. What happened in 2015? I know there was an accident, and I know it completely rocked your world and impacted your daily life. Talk about that. Just take us back to that and just tell us about that.
Well, I was in Maui.
Nice.
That's not where the accident happened. I was on vacation. About a month later, I'm back in Colorado where I live.
Just had to throw that in there. I was in Maui. Yeah.
Actually, it's funny because that's sort of my anchor point. Instead of going back to that moment where it happened and kind of reliving that, I kind of remember, man, there were some really beautiful things going on even leading up to it.
I love that.
That's one of the reframes for me that has helped me in not to stay stuck in the story. But it took a long time for that to be true. The story itself is relevant because it is really what happened to me. Yet the view of it, what I experience as I share it or relate with others is different than what it was when I first started sharing it. Tears coming down the face, I'm healing and I'm feeling different things I never felt before.
Right.
The accident that you're referring to is I got rear-ended and it was pretty gnarly. I came away with post-concussion syndrome and that's what they called it when they finally had, okay, this is how we send him to other people. Right. So yeah. I had my round of tests and met some interesting folks. I love my neurologist. That was one of the greatest things. So I have a belief in science, and in those moments where the trauma happens, I have a belief in medical science because there's a reason for that to exist. And I was very fortunate to be taken to a place where the emergency room was very high quality. It was a good experience. What was strange for me was that I didn't black out. I had an interesting experience, but it wasn't really a near death kind of thing, though I sort of saw the light and all that. I had a kind of a medium experience, if you will. That was kind of interesting. But what we're really talking about here is that in the aftermath, to me, there's kind of two sorts of concussions there. There's that, hey, I can go back in the game. And then there's the, hey, you need to sit on the bench for a couple of games. That I had that kind of second one. I wasn't tying my shoes great for the first week. I was on a lot of medication and such too. And I was having just crazy reactions that I had never had before. So it was really messy for me very quickly. So I needed answers really fast. Ultimately what it turned into, and I think this happens to a lot of people when they experience it this way. And I know you've had questions probably throughout the decades of your experience, and this maybe you understand this in even a bigger capacity, which I think is really beneficial for your viewers, that bird's eye view that you have. But I healed in different places along the way. And I had to pay attention to different things and different levels. Even though that medical science got me to a point, there were some other things that I was left with. And my mountain was of questions. That's where it plopped me. And I had them all at once. I'd never had that many questions about myself maybe it was my ego had gotten away with me and I just had missed a bunch of the questions, but it was all of them piled up. Anything that was a question about me and my worth was all stacked in front of me. And I'd never really experienced it in that intensity before.
Huh. You're absolutely right. I have had a similar experience. I mean, over the last 12 years has probably been the most intense of that experience, because 4 brain surgeries and 2 others that were related have all happened since 2013. So it's been, four brain surgeries in the last 12 years. So it's been a little crazy around here. And yes, every time you come out of a brain surgery, you're kind of thinking, okay, am I still me? Am I still whole? What side effects should I look for? And so, yeah, you do. You have to. It's almost like you peel back the layers of the onion over those next few months and years of what's going to come next. What should I expect? And you never know what to expect. Especially with the brain.
I got to inject right there that I think that is such a huge benefit, and I mentioned it earlier too. But the view that you have of that, you just said every time you come out of brain surgery, it's this thing. How many people can actually be in a position to share that with folks? To say that every time you come out, you want to check it. It's not just, do I have all my fingers and toes?
Yeah.
It's so much more than that. And just such an incredible view of things. That's one of the reasons I really enjoy talking to you, because you still maintain that positive, here's what really happened. And yeah, some of this is not the greatest. We can continue on, and there can be hope.
There absolutely can be. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's true. And I can relate to a lot of what you're saying, man. I mean, I've come out with some pretty crazy side effects, as I'm sure you did too. We'll get into that too. But it's, I had nonstop migraines for a year after one of them. I had, loss of function on the right side of my body to the point that it was large motor tics all the time. And it would, lost the filter in my brain at one point that blocked out background noise. And so going into crowds was really, really interesting. It's just crazy. But the cool thing is, you said something that I want to pick up on too, is that it's not just the medical world that's helpful. It's not just you have to have surgeries. I can't cranial sacral my way out of brain surgery. You know what I'm saying? I can't chiropractic my way out of that. You've got to go to the hospital sometimes when you have conditions, but the recovery and all the aftermath is where I feel like the hospitals are less helpful, and the alternative world comes into play and really starts to kick in and help, because I wouldn't be here without a good combination of both of those, and I feel like that's kind of where you were going. I think with that is you got to have both in there,
I agreed. And I would say for me, it even went beyond just there being both. Like I said, I was on a lot of medication. And then I needed some kind of alternative, because I had a window of opportunity to utilize the resources and get some help. So I took a look at acupuncture and then got some energy work. And where that was actually leading me, I love that you just said it, was craniosacral. And that was a game changer for me. Nice. to have things fire up. And not everybody responds to it in the same way that I did or really embraces it, but everybody that I've talked to, especially around the migraine situation, has done really well with it. But there was a balance there, like you're saying. Yeah. I remember being on Percocet and Valium 3 times a day. Lord. Right now, I'm recovering alcoholic by that point. And so I'm already a year into recovery, and then I have this happen, or maybe a couple of years. I don't remember. Anyway, the point was I get into the emergency room and they're like, "Would you like any drugs?" And I'm like, "No, I really don't want any." And then they prescribed it, and I could see why, because the headaches, like you said, the migraines. Now, I didn't go a year. I had about 3 months. Yeah, it was about 2.5 months. And the reason I remember is because December 31st of that same year, because this happened mid-October. So December 31st, I went into my neurologist and got my first Botox treatment. Now, my neurologist was pretty cool. I'm a Vikings fan, and he was a Green Bay fan. And back in those days, I was bumming because I couldn't watch games anymore. I couldn't. Yeah. It was too much motion and all that. Totally. No, it's not worth it.
Nope.
But I would save up and try to watch one when I could. So he comes in the room with the cheese thing on his head, right? I mean, well, you got to love your neurologists when they show up with a sense of humor. and that day specifically, which stands out to me because the Botox injections were the first time in 2.5 months that I didn't have a headache.
Nice.
When you hug a neurologist, they get uncomfortable. I don't think they're used to that. But
No.
I couldn't hold myself back in it, and having that kind of relief in our world, we didn't know what to do, and he knew I didn't want to stay on the medication. It was important to me to get off of it. Right. Yes. Especially in knowing what I was like and understanding that about myself and being strong enough to stay in that place and be an advocate for myself in that. Yeah. The difference was that the Botox gave me a little relief, and that gave me hope.
See, and I had a similar experience. I never went the Botox route. I never did that. I don't even know why. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't want to explore that route. I don't know. I did tell him
you don't need a baby face.
I did.
Right?
What are you talking about? I already have a baby face.
Well, you're saying like you. I maybe not like you, but I'm kind of a late bloomer. So I love to tell the story. I got the Botox, but that's not where the baby face came from. Those treatments were years ago.
No, man. I went a different route, and a cranial sacral actually made the headaches worse for me. So it was weird. I thought that was one of my first go-tos, and it made it worse. And I was like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. But the thing that worked for me was the first thing that worked is I found a chiropractic neurologist. Who knew there was such a person out there? But he's 10 minutes down the road here in the town I live in, and he was able to cut the frequency and severity of those migraines by about half, which was great. I could breathe, and then I found something called neurofeedback, and that's what actually got rid of them. So it was a process, but oh my gosh.
Well, you do have to kind of peck and hunt a little bit because our physiology, our biology, our beliefs, our values, our resources, those things are different. And getting an opportunity to try those things out is really important. And for folks that struggle with these that are listening, please don't give up because one thing doesn't work. There, you can hear it in the story that even though I'm an advocate and it really helped me, it wasn't exactly the right thing for Jeff. So there's a point at which you do have to make some choices for yourself. Now, where we were headed in this, Jeff, was into that. What do we do when the questions are mounting? How do we start to answer those things when we're looking at ourselves?
Yeah.
And for me, the answers ended up in metaphysical space for me. Yeah. Because that's kind of what I had time and interest in at that point. I needed to look outside the box. So I followed some of that, and that ended up actually becoming the next business and career that I stepped into, was helping people through intuitive Akashic readings. That was my bread and butter for a bunch of years. That was my transition, honestly, out of corporate America and managing a giant $2 million a year drive-through coffee place, right, down to I'm going to need to take a little lesser position because I can't manage that place anymore.
Yeah.
It took me 2 tries to figure that out, which was a disaster. But at a point, I had to take some responsibility of myself and my healing and recognize what was working and start doing those things. And I think for a lot of folks that live with an invisible condition, that the people around them, the ones that do understand, oh my gosh, those people that understand. But it's very difficult from the outside to understand what somebody is working through internally, especially when their faculties have changed. It's new, and how I can get it out of me is different. I'm not even sure how
every
to say
time.
it.
Yeah. Every time.
And like you mentioned, I don't mean to be taking the conversation over, but you hit on so many beautiful things there, Jeff. Like the things that were struggles for you, the music, or the sounds. I think you said the crowds. I couldn't listen to music with more than one instrument for a while. I still there's certain noises. Maybe some of that's just Jason, but that's the thing with an invisible condition is, what if that is me? And what if that is actually what I'm dealing with? And if
Right.
I have control of my universe, if I have that belief that this is all about choice, then why can't I choose my way out of it? And I think that there's a philosophical answer to that. And some people have a little trouble coming down in that for themselves.
Totally. I totally get it. I agree 100%. And speaking of that, we're going to go to a break right now. But if anybody watching is saying, oh my gosh, yes, that's me. I so relate to that. No matter where you're watching, if you're catching this on E360, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, by the way, if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, comment. That's the easiest way. Just comment, just be like, hey, Jason, we got to talk. I got some questions, or Jeff, or whatever. Just throw a comment in there and we'll address it and we'll get back to you. And so, we got more to talk about, man. We got so much more to cover. And we're going to talk more at the end of after the break. So stick around, don't go anywhere, and we'll see you here in just a couple minutes. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about our sponsor, Dunamis Marriages. And now struggling marriages often lead to a dramatic sense of disconnection from your spouse that can seem suffocating. Even if your marriage is doing pretty well, there is a way for you to thrive no matter what. Dunamis Marriages believes that God designed marriage to be a lifelong, heart-connected journey. And they're here to help you get there at Dunamis Marriages. Located in Colorado Springs, Colorado, their faith-based marriage intensive has an 83% success rate. I'm going to say that again, 83% success rate. Guiding couples through deep emotional healing and lasting transformation. Why is that important? Because most marriage counseling has a less than 10% success rate, leaving broken hearts and marriages in its wake. Led by Dr. Pauline Dillard, who brings over 42 years of marital wisdom, these marriage intensives are different. Typical marriage counseling is more of a once a week for an hour type of thing that can last for years and really end up getting you nowhere. The intensive model that Dr. Pauline uses brings couples together. Each session lasts about 2 to 3 hours and is conducted over 5 to 6 sessions. The time that you invest in a marriage intensive will combine biblical truth with proven psychological principles to restore communication, trust, and intimacy. At Dunamis Marriages, they don't just treat symptoms, they equip you with the tools to build a thriving, Christ-centered marriage. If you're ready to break free from frustration and rekindle your relationship God's way, act now. Visit DunamisMarriages.com today. That's DUNAMAS marriages.com. And take that first step toward a stronger, more fulfilling marriage. Build your marriage on a solid foundation and enjoy your spouse like you never thought possible.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Russell. I'm the host of TechnologyTuesday.com. You can find us on the Conscious Business TV network every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the latest resources to help you make more money in your business. Join us on E360 TV. Come on.
All right, here we go. We're back. Jason, thank you for being here, man. This is so cool.
It's good times. Good times. Great commercials.
Love it. Thanks, man. Yeah. We got some amazing sponsors. So I'm very excited. This is a good time right now. So bring it on. So memory's only the second thing to go, you know. I'm trying to remember what we were talking about, where we left off in the first segment here, but I know we wanted to go into, I know there was some other stuff that we didn't get to talk about, of course, which is why we have more of the show here. You have explored a lot of alternative stuff, as I have, you know. I mean, that's kind of the name of the game. When the doctor, I had a doctor literally tell me in 2014 with those migraines we were talking about at first segment, I went back to the doctor, of course, and I was like, hey, you know, you were the last one in there poking around, you know, what can we do about these headaches? And he literally looked at me and said, geez, I'm sorry. I guess you're just going to have to live with headaches. That's what he told me. So I said, okay, I'm out. We're done. We're looking elsewhere. And so, and you were talking about cranial sacral and acupuncture and energy work and all this stuff. And that's what has kind of turned into your business, like what you do now. Right. I mean, did that lead you to?
Well, it led me to answer the questions, that pile of questions we were talking about there.
Yeah.
Right. And we were talking a lot, you and I, about the differences and trying out different things. And you start to get results, man. You can work it for a while till it works till it doesn't.
Right.
You know, and if it's not working, you got to try something else. And it can get a little frustrating trying to float through all of those things.
Yeah.
Just a month ago, I got aligned I moved to a new town, you know, in the last couple of years. So I finally found a chiropractor I really like. And when you got a good chiropractor, that's a difference maker. It's still not everything. Even when I'm going to the chiropractor, I need to drink enough water and I need to eat and I've got to sleep right. I've still got to have my responsibility and meet myself in it. And I think that was a lot of what led me to get the answers in alternative places, because the answers everybody else had, like you said, my neurologist didn't say that to me, thankfully, because I'd have felt the same way. Okay, we're done. You're not even really wishing me the best. You're just saying that I get where he's coming from. It's pretty cut and dry. But it's not personal as much as, hey, then I need to put my energy into finding answers. And that's what sent me to specifically the Akashic records. And we do not need to go down the 2 scoops of woo road here, because it's just not really necessary. The Akashic record is the journey of the soul from the beginning. It's basically a book of information, if you will, that has some pertinent things when it's interpreted and applied in a way that's successful. Mm-hmm. And what I actually found was that really what we're talking about is knowing ourselves. Any spiritual journey is going to send us inward. And lots of people are awakened just fine. They're aware just fine. Just because they're not spiritual or religious, they're just as awake as anybody else. So, sometimes it's just a level of common sense that you can tell, or somebody's wisdom, or how much they love, when they really can be in their gifts and their presence. That's something that for me, that really came from my exploration. And I know that is similar for a lot of folks, regardless of how deep in the hole that you were, you're going to hit some of the same places. So getting with folks that have been there to get in these kind of communities, to listen to other people that have found their way, it helps get farther, further, faster. And that's what somebody did for me in there. My neurologist, he did that for me. My craniosacral guy, he did that for me. My chiropractor a couple months ago, man, my headaches, like you said, the reduction, they were that first visit, man, with the right kind of situation and my approach as well, 30% less headaches.
Nice.
And I was still hitting 2 or 3 days a week here, probably recently.
Yeah.
And something I wanted to communicate, and maybe you have some feedback here too, is that sometimes when we put it out there, even though if I'm trying to hide, I don't really want people to know that I'm struggling 3 nights a week with a migraine, because sometimes I'm on a call and I don't really want that to be known. But I'll tell you what, as soon as I mentioned it to somebody, it actually got better because I owned it. As soon as I owned it, I became more aware in a different way. And I would encourage folks out there that you got to communicate, you got to talk to somebody, and keep doing whatever is working for you. That doesn't, unfortunately, for some of us, that doesn't really stop. there isn't a full, recovery. Some of that's adaptation,
Right.
and giving ourselves room to do that is really important.
I totally agree. I as soon as you put it out there, because when you're trying to hide it, you're trying to conceal it, you're trying to like, oh, I wonder, oh, I don't want anybody to know. You're automatically sending yourself, you probably don't even know that you are, but you're already sending you're sending yourself into fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. You're sending yourself into the sympathetic nervous system and just down that spiral. And if you can get back into the parasympathetic of knowing what's going on and getting it out there, it's like, if you just, like you said, if I just say, God, you know what, if the look on my face is a look of pain, it's because I have a migraine that is literally killing me right now. People are going to understand. After my last surgery in 2021, I had large motor tics that just rocked my whole right side of my body. And I couldn't help it. And the more stress my brain became under, the worse it would look like my whole right side of my body was just tremors. And I would try to hide them. And I had somebody very wise tell me, what is wrong with you? That is your superpower. Let them go. Let them go. Just relax. People will get it. If you bring it up, they're going to get it, and they won't even notice it after that. And I noticed that if I brought it up, they weren't as bad either, right? Because you've addressed the elephant in the room, So yeah, so I totally get it. I'm with you.
When you take responsibility for it,
yes.
Even when I'm not sure how to do that all the way, I'm not sure. Okay, I'm just going to look at it differently to see if something will help. I mean, if nobody's ever tried that, if we ever just tried taking responsibility, you'd be surprised how quickly that turns it around. Is it uncomfortable for a minute? Yes. Every bit of soul searching has a little bit of rib poking going on. It's going to happen. and I suggest that laughter, sense of humor. I suggest bring humor to it. It'll get you through. Humor gets to hope real fast,
man. You know what? I tell people, here's the humor part. I've told people for years, I'm kind of a movie savant, by the way. I love movies. I don't know why. I remember stuff. I just remember stuff, lines and actors and movies, whatever. And so I've told people over the years, I'm trilingual, and they get all excited. They're like, "Ooh, really? What languages?" And I say, sarcasm is number one. Movie quotes is number two, and a close third is English, and that usually loosens up the room a little bit, if there's tension in there, because, healthy sarcasm is not a bad thing. Humor is a good thing in most situations. It's going to break the tension and bring the guard down a little bit. So nothing wrong with that.
Sarcasm is a toy, not a tool.
That's right.
I have one of my original shirts that says that. It's funny. I had it on earlier today and I couldn't decide. Did I want to show up with a t-shirt? And now I know why it was on my list and why I was wearing it this morning.
You could have just stood up and showed everybody. Here's the
right. I mean, it's the real thing. But
here it is. Yeah,
I dropped the ball because I dress nicely, I guess. I don't know. But I love where you're coming from in loosening up the room and giving folks something to accept about you as well. Yeah. Right. To say, hey, I know this about me. I'm not trying to be perfection, but also if I drop a dad joke, there's a reason. I got hobbies and I'm going to share it with you. Awesome. Yeah. I when everybody goes, oh, we won, man, that worked. That's a perfect reaction.
Right.
So injecting that humor, and then I'm with you on the movie quotes too, man. I really enjoy that. Those memories and that fondness.
Yes.
I think that's twice now that's come up in our conversation today to kind of give us an anchor for happiness, a place where that reminds us of things that are good, that we really enjoy. Because it's very easy to get locked on, you say the number of surgeries and how they've happened, and somebody gets a picture of that. I mean, 4 of them in that many years, you got you basically have a festival going on, right? You got like a brain festival going on. It's a lot to take in and deal with, and to have those kinds of things. I mean, what a great tool to recognize. I'm not even sure I always saw it, but it's certainly come to the surface today. That's what these kind of conversations and settings allow for. Is those things to show up and for people to be able to adapt them and work them for themselves. It's brilliance.
Yeah, totally. And I use that in my speaking too. When I go speak somewhere, you get into some serious stuff. I mean, you talk about somebody living with migraines for a year, and you talk about somebody having to leave their career of 12. I had to leave a career I loved that I was at for 12 years because of those tics. I couldn't function in that job anymore. And, that some of that's kind of a downer. You don't want to be that guy on when you're talking to people. And so I've gotten to be kind of a master over my lifetime of interjecting humor, because that's kind of how I roll. It's humor is a beautiful thing. And like you said, don't use it don't be mean. Don't be that guy. You can still be fun and be sarcastic. So, and use those movie quotes. So, speaking of speaking, by the way, first, okay, I got to just say this website here, what are people going to find when they go to that website? We've had it up the whole show. We haven't even addressed it. Let's talk.
Call Jason today. There's a little bit of what's going on with me there. Where I really like to help folks is to elevate their presence. And that means authenticity. That comes with awareness to me. I kind of have a three, my 3 A's are awareness, and that's a step all in itself. And not everybody really takes the time to enjoy that part of it.
Yeah.
And then it's really about alignment. It's about nudging things back in a direction that we really want to go. And eventually application. Application is not just action, though that's true. That application includes the philosophy and what else we have, how we've changed, how our values and beliefs, what are my feelings now? How do I see the world? What am I working with? And being able to forge ahead with confidence in that space. So I love to be on stage. I love the roller coaster of speaking, to be connected with a room and to really deliver. I'm also a promoter and an event planner myself. So I really do get all of the levels of what it takes to deliver at an event and to really make an impact. And even though I participate in other folks' stages, I also create my own stages and have a lot of fun doing those things. There's lots of places to have impact, and when we find something we're truly passionate about, to make some noise in that area, I think is healthy for us to say the things that need to be said. These conversations we're having are gold for the folks that it lands for. So it's really important to follow what we're learning and share that with others. How we express that's the choice we get to make. How do we approach it and how do we express it? That's what everybody wants to know. How do I do it? Well, you're really just expressing it. So you got to go out and do it to find out. Right.
Exactly. And I wanted to bring up the speaking, because that's another thing that you were talking about before we started filming here. You were talking about that other URL that you've got. What was the other one?
Well, there's the Call Jason Today and there's Book Jason Today, right?
Book Jason Today.
If I'm going to hop on a stage, the Call Jason Today is that opportunity is directly to me. And if it's a channel of speaking, which is a place where I help a lot of folks, or if it's a channel of, hey, let's have a conversation about this intuition thing and how, help me out with my awareness and my alignment, my application. That's a specific way to share my time and expertise, because a lot of times people want to jump in and have a conversation and think they're going to help somebody. For me, it's a little egotistical to assume I can help everybody. But if somebody wants to have a conversation, that may be possible. It may be present, but I still don't know what that is. So that time to get to know people, I enjoy meeting people where they're at in the compassion and the expression, and listening to other people's stories, right? And that's how you and I got connected, was we were sharing our story and realized, wow, we have all of this in common. Let's have a really deep conversation about what this is like, what it takes to go through this, and to see that you can still be successful. There is no still be successful. It's just successful in this different way, right? That's what it becomes.
Exactly. I mean, it's one life. It's one life. Everything is together. Everything is not. It's not. Here's my business. Here's my family life. Here's my recreation life. It's one life. It's all together. And now sometimes it becomes the new normal, right? After a brain injury or after an invisible condition or after a brain surgery, but it's all the same. I mean, it really, so, and I want to talk about that a little bit, but we're going to go to one more break. I'm taking this QR code down. Don't worry. It'll be back. You'll get to get.
I'll miss it so much.
You'll hold on. There it goes. Don't miss it too much.
I'll be fine. I'll see you after the break.
You'll be all right. Get you a tissue while we got the commercials, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Everybody, stay tuned. We'll see you soon.
Hey there. You know, every time someone comes into your business or website and uses their card to pay, a percentage of that gets folded back into the system. But it can go to Hydro with Hope instead. If you'd like your business to support us rather than feed back into the system, scan the QR code and we'll show you how to do that while saving your business money.
Hey everybody, Craig Tomanini here, founder and CEO of Ask Craig T, and I wanted to do a quick reminder about our podcast every Friday, 9 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. You can find us on YouTube and on all of our social media platforms, so be sure you tune in. Don't miss all the valuable information we're going to give you about how to scale your business using technology.
Are you a change agent? You're going to love the Superpowers for Good show. I'm Devin Thorpe. Every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 11 Eastern, I host an inspiring change maker on Achieve TV. Join us right here on E360 TV.
Hey, everybody. Before we bring Jason back for the last little bit segment of the show, I got to talk to you about something. We have a community that I want to tell you about, and it's called InvisibleCondition University. And I'm going to pull up I'm going to grab the URL here in a second. There it is. Okay. Nope, not that one. There, we can see it now. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. InvisibleCondition University. Okay. Now, InvisibleCondition, that's something I wish I would have had 10 years ago. Okay. We empower you at InvisibleCondition University. It empowers you to face whatever invisible condition you or a loved one might be living with, facing, learning more about. I mean, some people don't get diagnosed with these kind of things until later. And it's like, what do I do now? Right? We are a community that you can come to. We will listen. We care about what you're going through, man. We're going to walk through it with you, no matter what's going on. You'll be part of a community that we'll meet twice a month on a Tuesday. I think it's like the first and third Tuesday of every month. And so you can have a safe place for you and your loved ones, your caregivers, your mom, your sister, whoever's helping you through this invisible condition journey, to ask questions, get support, or for crying out loud, just find some hope. This is something, like I said, that I wish we would have had 10 years ago. 4 brain surgeries since 2014. And we had to navigate it all ourselves and reinvent the wheel a lot. And I want to help you not have to do that. So it's very inexpensive. It's only $17 a month. I'm going to give you the first month for free to check it out. Come to a couple calls, see what you think. I would love to talk to you and help you along your journey. And go to InvisibleConditionUniversity.com or scan the QR code, and I'll look forward to seeing you there. It's an amazing community, and I can't wait for you to be a part of it. All right, let's get Jason back here. I got to push the right button. There we are. Here we go. All right, now we can talk. All right,
that's better.
That's better. I told you it was coming back. It's right there. It's right there.
I know you're like hogging it with your great community. That is one of the most beautiful things to offer is a space where people can come together, and even if they're not necessarily ready to talk or really be forward with what's going on, but be able to hear what others are going through. And it's not a compare and share kind of situation. It's very much a cohesive environment of understanding and getting together to help each other through things, not to fix it, right? Because a lot of these things we can't fix it. We're going to run into little things here and there that we just can't. But having a community of people to talk to can make all the difference. I know this last year, I will
Yeah.
tell you one of the biggest surges in my life has happened because I found tribe. That started with a mentor, and then the people around, right?
Yeah.
And that expanding and really stepping into that. And there was a time when I wondered if that was ever accessible for me, if I was ever going to be in a position again to do the things I really had in my brain that I always loved and had a vision for. The answer is yes, and in a much better way. It's so much more organic and it's more me. It truly is. And I think it takes a long time to get to the gift in that, Jeff.
Yeah.
I think you probably had to do it over and over again. Like you wake up and go, all right, am I the same? All right, I'm the same. What's the gift in this? Oh, I guess it's because I'm the same.
Well, yeah.
Thank goodness. Yeah. So it's really neat that there's that kind of experience available and that you're sharing it in such a beautiful way in the Invisible Condition community.
Well, and thank you, man. And I appreciate that. And even more, even beyond that, this is somewhere that, like, for us, we had to reinvent the wheel all the time. We were the ones that had to advocate. We were the ones that had to knock on doors and have the conversations and try the stuff. And some of it worked and some of it didn't. And sometimes it made it worse. And so we're bringing all that, not to mention, we've been on the air over 2 years now. We've got all these people that we've amassed in our giant network of people that have been sharing with all of you for the last 2 years. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've already done the work. You just have to come and learn and collaborate with others. Hey, what did you try? Oh, that worked for you. Oh, what did you try? Oh, that, maybe I'll try that. And it's just that never happens in the doctor's office. So it's got to be somewhere. So that's what we did. So anyway, yeah. So join everybody. It'll be fun. It'll be good. It might not always be fun, but it'll always be good. So, all right.
How true is that?
Right?
This place, man. This is what happens when you shove divine energy into a primate, right? Look around. It can be a problem. I don't think they were ready for all these emotions and all this other goofy stuff that probably in some views is a side effect. But it's actually what makes this human condition so, well, I guess, livable. If we were walking around without emotions, I don't know that purpose would be so available to us. And even when we're stripped of them or they're amplified or whatever it is that whatever condition we're experiencing. And you know what? Sometimes an invisible condition isn't actually some kind of injury. It's not necessarily something that happened to somebody. There's folks that are suffering with depression or making their way through something else that doesn't really have a source. They don't really know. And Invisible Condition covers a lot of ground. And I would say, Jeff, that you have a similar mission to me, is that recognizing suffering exists, the amount is negotiable.
Yes. Well, I've said this before. Those of us in the Invisible Condition community, especially those of us that have been through multiple surgeries and had very painful conditions that physically pain, we know that you, well, first of all, we know that 1 to 10 scale that they ask you about in the hospital is a joke.
we're every rocker's turning it up to 11, man. That we're gonna go over 10 right away.
how would you rate your pain, right? Like, is it on a scale of 1 to 10? Because for some of us, you've experienced the migraine stuff. I mean, everybody that's been through pain, it's like my 3 is probably somebody else's 8 or 9.
Yeah. Hey, Doc, let me poke you in the eye and you tell me how bad it is.
Exactly. Yeah. Here, let me do let me trade places with you for a couple days.
I need a point of reference.
Yeah.
That also doesn't happen in a doctor's office.
So we don't recommend that, by the way, everybody. Don't go into the doctor's office and go, how about this, doc?
Yeah. Or hugging your neurologist until you've established some kind of relationship. I suggest that you hold off on that as well.
Yeah, please hold off on that. Don't do that. We're gonna get emails now. People are gonna go, I walked in and punched my neurologist and he didn't like it.
And
Don't
you
do that.
can put my email back up there if you want. I don't want you getting in trouble. Send them my way. I'll take the lumps. I actually want to be in those conversations.
You go, did you happen to record it? That's the.
Oh, geez. We're going to have to do editing now because we might have crossed the line, Jeff.
No.
Here we
You're
are
okay.
in the sarcasm and the humor, right? To really use those things in a natural way. It's and when I say use, it's really because in the energy, I'm just leaning into it because it's fun and it gives us some space to operate, some room to operate. And I know that was one of the hardest things for me to find when I had to close down the windows, right, and pull up the covers over my head.
Right.
I got everything covered. I got music playing, one instrument really low, and it's me and my little dog and my glass of water. And the timer that finally goes off to remind me to take my meds. And that's basically the whole day. That's not a fun way to spend a week or more time. Those kind of situations, while I experienced that, I realized shortly after that a lot of people go through that kind of thing, whether it's actually instituted by a collision or, a trauma or trauma. Maybe it's just something that's happening internally. And I just encourage folks to recognize that it's all right to say so. It's okay to ask for some kind of guidance, some kind of help, to speak out to talk to somebody. Simply because expressing it puts it in a different perspective, because now it's not just internal. Now it's outside of you. Yeah. And that means you got to look at it. You get an opportunity to look at it. You have the chance for that to be something different because your perspective is open.
Exactly. I love that, man. And that's actually a perfect way to wrap up the show because we are about out of time. I know. You know what? Maybe you should come back again. Maybe we'll do it again sometime. That would be fun. We could just pick up where we left off and nobody will even know.
Neither one of us is going to remember. For you and I to pick up where we left off, we're going to have to go back.
I was being optimistic, man.
I'm going to lay it on the table. I think it's fun. I would love to come back, given that your viewers get a benefit out of our conversation, and that it's encouraging and it's helpful and impactful for them. That's really what matters here. And to be a part of a community that's really about something bigger, that is something I'm always going to say yes to, Jeff, to be able to show up and be a part of that and make this as easy for both of us as possible. I love that kind of channel, and E360 TV has given you that, and you have used this platform for just incredible good for all this time. So thank you for showing up and being an advocate for the people that really need a voice, whether they realize it or not.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Stick around so we can chat after. Thank you so much for being here, man. Thank you. All right, everybody. Man, see, those are fun. I love those kind of this. We got to have him come back just because I haven't laughed that much in an episode in a while. I laugh at every episode. We have some fun around here, but good Lord, I think I pulled something. I think my face is going to hurt the rest of the day. Okay. Whew. All right, everybody, here we go. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching, no matter where you're watching from. Facebook, YouTube, wherever, E360. I love you all. I'm so glad you're here. Like, follow, subscribe, share, all the things so that you can get reminders on YouTube and everything when the show's going to be on. And, I know that I may, for those of you that maybe have noticed or maybe have not, I'm just going to throw this out there. Anybody that has noticed, kudos. I've been drinking out of one of these with the logo on it. If you like them, you can order one right there. So I think they're pretty cool. And so if anybody wants one, go for it. It's right there. So, okay, everybody, thank you so much. Join us for our next show on Tuesday, April 29th, when we will bring on another amazing person living with an invisible condition that's kicking butt and taking names, man. It'll be fun. Looking forward to seeing you again soon. Till then, have an amazing day.